You're scrolling through car listings at midnight, and every single vehicle that doesn't look like it's about to fall apart costs $50,000. The paint has scratches, the interior smells like the previous owner's dog lived in it. There's a dent in the passenger door, and the dealer has the audacity to call it a reliable daily driver. Meanwhile, you're sitting there doing mental math on your salary, wondering if you've somehow missed a massive promotion or if the entire car market has collectively lost its mind. Spoiler alert, it's not you. It's the math. And the math is absolutely brutal. My name is Mike, and today we're going to do something that car dealers hate. We're going to calculate who can actually afford a $50,000 car in 2026. Not who the bank will give a loan to, but who can legitimately afford it without turning their life into a financial stress simulator, because there's a massive difference between qualifying for a car loan and actually being able to sleep at night after you sign the paperwork. Let's start with the uncomfortable reality in today's market. $50,000 is the baseline for a new midsize SUV or a decent truck. That's not getting you a luxury vehicle. That's getting you a Honda Pilot, a Toyota Highlander, or a Ford F-150 with some basic options. In other words, $50,000 is what normal people are expected to somehow come up with for normal vehicles. The median household income in America is around $84,000. So we're asking people making $84,000 to afford vehicles that cost 60% of their annual income. If that ratio sounds insane to you, congratulations, you're paying attention. But everyone keeps saying you can do it. The finance manager says you're approved. Your parents bought new cars on way less. Some influencer on social media is leasing luxury cars with no money down, so what's the problem? The problem is that everyone is lying to you about what affordable actually means. Let's start with the down payment because that's where most people's dreams go to die. The old rule was 20% down on a $50,000 car. That's $10,000 cash. Let me say that again, $10,000. The median savings account in America has around $8,000 in it. So you're not just a little short, you're $2,000 short. And that's if you drain your entire emergency fund. And before you say you'll just save it, let's do that math too. If you're making $84,000 a year and somehow manage to save 10% of your gross income, which almost nobody does, you're saving $8,400 per year. At that rate, it'll take you over a year to save the down payment. Assuming car prices don't go up, which they absolutely will. So you skip the 20% down payment. You put down 5% or 10% instead, which is what most people actually do. Congratulations. You just unlocked higher monthly payments and probably a worse interest rate because you're financing more of the vehicle. You're paying extra money every month because you didn't have enough cash up front. You're already starting from a position of financial punishment. Now let's talk about the actual car payment. You put down 10%, which is $5,000 that you somehow scraped together. That leaves you with a $45,000 loan at current interest rates, somewhere in the 6 to 8% range depending on your credit. Your monthly car payment is going to land around $750 to $850. That's just principal and interest for a 60-month loan. That number doesn't include a single other thing you need to actually drive the car. Let's add insurance for a $50,000 vehicle. Especially if you're financing it and required to carry full coverage, you're looking at anywhere from $200 to $400 per month depending on your age, location, and driving record. Then there's fuel. The average American drives around 13,000 miles per year. If your vehicle gets 25 miles per gallon and gas averages $4 per gallon, that's $2,080 annually, or about $173 per month. Then there's maintenance. The thing everyone forgets about until the check engine light comes on. Oil changes, tire rotations, brake pads, new tires every few years. You're looking at around $100 to $150 per month on average. And don't forget registration and taxes, depending on your state. That could be another $50 to $100 per month when averaged annually. So let's add this up. Car payment, $800, insurance, $300, fuel, $173. Maintenance, $125. Registration, $75. Your total monthly vehicle cost is now sitting at roughly $1,473. And that's assuming nothing major breaks, you don't get into an accident. And you never get a speeding ticket that raises your insurance. Here's where it gets really fun. Financial advisors will tell you that you shouldn't spend more than 10 to 15% of your gross monthly income on a car payment. Some say 20% for all transportation costs combined. Let's reverse engineer this. If you're spending $1,473 per month on your vehicle, and that represents 15% of your income, you need to be making roughly $118,000 per year. If we use the more lenient 20% rule for total transportation, you still need to be pulling in around $88,000 annually just to stay within guidelines. And now we arrive at the punchline. The median household income is $84,000, which means 50% of American households cannot comfortably afford a $50,000 car under any reasonable financial standard. This isn't an opinion. This is just math being cruel, but you're thinking, people are still buying these cars. Who are these people? Some of them have dual incomes in high-paying fields. Some of them have family money. Some of them are stretching themselves so thin that one job loss or medical emergency would collapse their entire financial life. Let me show you what that actually looks like when you run the numbers on a real household trying to make this work. Meet a household we'll call the Martinez family. 2 working professionals pulling in a combined $100,000 a year. That puts them above the median, solidly in the middle class. They should be comfortable, right? Let's watch what happens when they buy that $50,000 car first. Their gross income of $100,000 sounds impressive until the IRS shows up. After federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, and maybe a modest 401k contribution, they're taking home around $6,000 per month. That's their actual money to live on. Now subtract that $1,473 monthly vehicle cost we calculated. They're left with $4,527 for literally everything else in their lives. Mortgage or rent because they still need somewhere to live, there goes $1,800. The other car payment because they're a 2-car household, another $500. Groceries for a family that's trying to eat reasonably healthy, $700 if they're careful. Utilities for their home, electricity, water, gas, internet, phones, $400. Student loans because they needed those degrees to get the jobs that qualified them for the car loan. $500, health insurance premiums that their employers don't fully cover. $300, we're now at $327 remaining. And we haven't touched clothing. Entertainment, kids' activities, home repairs, medical copays, or the psychological need to occasionally leave the house and pretend you have a life. Savings emergency fund. Retirement beyond that modest 401k, good luck. This household is spending 25% of their take-home pay on one vehicle. Not 10%, not even 15%. A full quarter of their income, and these aren't irresponsible people. They're not buying jet skis or taking European vacations. They're just trying to drive a car that the market tells them is normal. Here's what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like checking your bank account before filling up your gas tank. It feels like hoping that weird noise the car is making goes away on its own, because you can't afford the diagnostic fee right now. It feels like lying awake at 2 a.m. doing mental math about whether you can afford new tires this month or if you need to push it to next month and just pray it doesn't rain. It feels like being one unexpected expense away from disaster at all times. The transmission goes out, that's $4,000 you don't have. Someone rear-ends you and your deductible is $1,000. You're putting it on a credit card. Your other car needs a major repair. You're financing car repairs like they're a second vehicle. This is the reality for households earning $100,000 trying to own a $50,000 car. Now imagine what it looks like for the household making $80,000 or $70,000 or, God forbid, the actual median income of $60,000 for a single earner. At that income level, buying a $50,000 car isn't tight. It's not even stretching, it's financial fantasy. It's mathematically impossible without either massive external help or accepting a level of risk. That would make a professional gambler nervous. But here's what makes this truly insidious. The car market doesn't care about these numbers. Dealers price vehicles at $50,000 because that's what the manufacturer sets. Banks approve buyers at debt-to-income ratios that technically won't default immediately. Finance managers encourage buyers to stretch, Because their commission depends on closing the deal and selling you additional products, nobody in the transaction has an incentive to tell you that you're about to financially drown yourself. The system is designed to get you into the car, not to ensure you can comfortably afford it long term. And once you're in, once you've signed those papers and driven off the lot, you're trapped. You can't just decide 6 months later that this was a mistake and walk away without destroying your credit and still owing money on a depreciated asset. So people stay with car payments they can't afford, working jobs they hate because they can't risk any income disruption, slowly watching their savings evaporate, wondering why they feel so stressed when they're supposedly just driving a normal vehicle. Let me tell you what the harsh truth sounds like. For probably 70 to 80% of American households, a $50,000 car is not affordable, not sustainably, not without accepting a level of financial precariousness that would have been considered reckless a generation ago. This isn't about personal failure. This isn't about not working hard enough or not being financially savvy. This is about a car market that has completely disconnected from income reality. New car prices have increased roughly 60% since 2019 alone. Median household income has increased maybe 15% in the same period. The math doesn't work. It cannot work. It will not work. And yet we keep pretending it does. We keep telling people that buying new is essential for reliability, which technically can be true, but ignores the part where you have to survive the payment first. We keep perpetuating the myth that if you just budget better, skip the coffee runs and work a side hustle, you can make it happen, but you can't budget your way out of a structural affordability crisis. You can't side hustle your way into a car payment when rent is eating 40% of your income. You can't manifest a lower interest rate through positive thinking. What you can do is understand the actual numbers so you can make an informed decision. Maybe that decision is to buy a $30,000 car instead, even if it means fewer features or an older model year. Maybe it's to buy used and save $15,000 immediately. Maybe it's to acknowledge that a new $50,000 vehicle simply isn't viable for you right now. And that's completely fine, because here's what nobody tells you. There is no prize for buying a car you can't afford. There is no trophy for being car poor. The stress of barely making your payment every month will erase any pride you felt the day you drove it home. The real question isn't whether you can technically get approved for a $50,000 car. The real question is whether owning that car will actually improve your life or just transfer your money to a bank while you stress about the next oil change. And for most people, when you run the honest numbers, the answer becomes uncomfortably clear. So, what does this mean for you practically? Let's be direct. If you're looking at a $50,000 car right now and your household income is anywhere south of $90,000, you need to just stop. You're about to make a financial decision that will dominate and potentially ruin the next 5 years of your life. I don't care what the finance manager says you're approved for. I don't care what the salesperson says is normal in your market. I don't care that your neighbor somehow made it work. The numbers are the numbers, and they don't care about your feelings or your leather seat dreams. Let's talk about what happens when you ignore this advice, because plenty of people do. You stretch. You convince yourself it'll be fine. Maybe you're betting on a future raise that hasn't materialized yet. Maybe you're planning to pick up rideshare driving on weekends. Maybe you're just really tired of your old car and you want this so badly that you've stopped thinking rationally. So you buy the car, congratulations, now what? Month 1, you make the payment. It's tight, but you did it. Month 2, same thing. You're cutting back on eating out, skipping entertainment, but you're managing. Then month 4, your other car needs new brakes. That's $800 you didn't budget for because every dollar is already allocated to the new car payment. You put it on a credit card. Month 7, the air conditioning in your house dies in July. The repair quote is $3,000. You don't have it. You're already stretched. Month 9. Your spouse's hours get cut at work. Suddenly, you're $600 short every month. And that emergency fund you were supposed to build, it never happened because there was nothing left to save. This is the reality of being car poor. You own a car. Technically, though, the bank really owns it for the next 5 years. But you can't afford to maintain your life around it. You can't afford unexpected expenses. You definitely can't afford to enjoy the vehicle you're paying for Every financial decision is made through the lens of, can we still make the car payment? You become a prisoner to your vehicle, working to pay for transportation you're too stressed to appreciate. And here's the really twisted part. Because cars have become so unaffordable, we've normalized this misery. We've rebranded financial desperation as adulting. You're car poor, welcome to modern life. Can't afford to go out because all your money went to the payment. That's just part of having a nice vehicle. Eating cheap meals for weeks because you had to pay for new tires, you're building equity. Except you're not building equity in a car. Cars depreciate. That $50,000 vehicle will be worth $35,000 in 3 years and $25,000 in 5 years. You're paying premium prices for a depreciating asset while sacrificing your financial stability. The math is screaming at you, but culture keeps whispering that you should buy anyway. Your parents bought new cars at your age. Never mind that their cars cost $15,000 and yours costs $50,000 your friends are buying. Never mind that you have no idea what their actual financial situation looks like or whether they're drowning behind their shiny new grille. Society tells you that driving an older car means you're not successful. Never mind that being unable to afford your car payment is also not success. Just with extra steps and worse consequences. So let me give you permission to do something radical. You can choose not to play this game. You can look at a $50,000 car, run the real numbers, and decide that it's not worth sacrificing your financial stability, your mental health, and your ability to build actual wealth. You can buy used, you can look at $30,000 vehicles or $20,000 vehicles. You can acknowledge that the expectation of buying new has been warped into something unrecognizable and possibly unattainable. And that's not your fault. Because here's what actually builds wealth. It's not driving a car you can barely afford. It's having margin in your budget, it's being able to invest consistently. It's not having to choose between fixing your vehicle and contributing to your retirement account. It's sleeping at night without anxiety about how you'll cover next month's payment. Real wealth is freedom, not a depreciating asset sitting in your driveway that you're stressed about. The automotive industry has done an incredible job convincing people that new is always better, that buying is always smarter than alternatives, that you should stretch as far as possible because you deserve it, but they're selling you a product. They profit when you buy, not when you make smart decisions. The dealership makes money on the sale, the bank makes money on your 5-year loan, the insurance company makes money on your policy. Nobody in that equation makes money when you say no thanks, this doesn't work for me. So, if you're sitting there right now feeling priced out, feeling like owning a decent car is slipping away, feeling like you're failing at some fundamental adult milestone, I need you to understand something. You're not failing, the system is failing you. Car prices have outpaced wage growth so dramatically that what was normal and achievable for previous generations is now a luxury item for most people. A $50,000 car is not a basic necessity. It's not affordable on a median income. It's not something you should stretch for unless you genuinely have the income to support it without financial acrobatics. Run your real numbers, factor in all the costs. Be honest about your income stability, and if the math doesn't work, walk away. There is no shame in saying this doesn't make sense for me right now. There is no trophy for buying a car that makes you miserable. The real win is making decisions based on reality rather than social pressure. On math rather than emotion, on your actual financial situation rather than what you wish it could be. That's how you avoid becoming another cautionary tale about the true cost of that $50,000 car. Look, I'm not telling you to give up on having a nice vehicle forever. I'm telling you to give up on the delusion that a $50,000 car is somehow within reach just because a dealer will let you sign the papers. Those are two catastrophically different things. The dealer's willingness to sell and your ability to actually live a life are not the same calculation. Maybe in 5 years your income doubles. Maybe you save aggressively and can put down $20,000 cash. Maybe the used market stabilizes and you can find a 3-year-old version of the same vehicle for $35,000. But right now, today with current prices and current incomes, this math is broken for most people, and pretending otherwise doesn't make you optimistic. It makes you a future statistic in someone else's video about auto loan defaults. So here's my actual advice. Stop looking at what you qualify for and start looking at what you can genuinely afford without turning your life into a financial tightrope act. Find the number where you can pay the car payment. Handle the insurance and maintenance. Save for emergencies. Invest for retirement. And still occasionally remember what it feels like to not be stressed about money. For most people, that number is nowhere near $50,000. And that's completely fine. You're not less successful because you're being realistic. You're not failing at adulthood because you refuse to financially drown yourself for heated seats and a backup camera. You're just doing math that apparently nobody else wants to do. The car market will keep pretending these prices make sense. Banks will keep approving loans that shouldn't exist. Dealers will keep telling you it's a great time to buy. But you don't have to participate in collective financial insanity just because everyone else is. Sometimes the smartest move is recognizing when the game is rigged and choosing not to play. That $50,000 car will still be there when you actually have the income to support it. And when that day comes, you'll buy it with confidence instead of anxiety, with margin instead of stress, with the knowledge that you're making a choice rather than succumbing to pressure. That's what real financial freedom looks like, not the car you drive, but the peace of mind you have while driving it.